Perseus stepped out of the palace, leaving behind a grand hall frozen in silence, where arrogance had turned to stone. The first light of a new era broke across the horizon, illuminating his face, not as a conqueror, but as a man who had defied fate. He did not look back. Justice had been served, and his name was carved into eternity. The War of Perseus and Polydectes. Legends are not just stories. They are the echoes of gods, heroes, and the battles that shaped the world. Today, we unveil the tale of Perseus, a warrior who defied fate and turned kings into stone. If you love mythology, epic battles, and stories of gods and heroes, make sure to subscribe. Your support helps keep these timeless legends alive. In Greek mythology, Perseus was one of the greatest heroes, son of Zeus and Princess Danaë. His life was marked by legendary feats, from slaying Medusa to rescuing Andromeda. But before he became a legend, Perseus had to face a cunning adversary, King Polydectes. The wedding gift. A cruel scheme. After being cast away by King Chrysaor and arriving at the island of Serifos, Danaë and her son were rescued by Dictis, a kind fisherman. But his brother, King Polydectes, lusted after Danaë. However, Perseus, now a strong and fearless young man, stood in his way. Knowing that Perseus was too strong to defeat by force, Polydectes devised a trap. He announced that he would marry Hippodamia, daughter of King Oinomaus, and demanded that every guest bring a grand wedding gift. When Perseus, who owned nothing, arrived at the feast, Polydectes humiliated him. "If you have nothing to offer, why not bring me the head of Medusa?" The hall erupted in laughter, but Perseus, his pride wounded, stood tall and declared, "I will bring you Medusa's head and prove that I am not a man to be mocked." The battle with Medusa. A clash between darkness and light. Medusa, one of the three Gorgon sisters, was cursed with a terrible fate. Whoever met her gaze would turn to stone. She was once a beautiful maiden, but now she was a monster feared by gods and mortals alike. Knowing that this mission was impossible without divine help, Perseus received sacred gifts from the gods. Athena granted him a polished bronze shield, capable of reflecting Medusa's image, so he wouldn't have to look directly into her deadly gaze. Hermes gifted him the winged sandals, allowing him to soar above the ground with the swiftness of the wind. Hephaestus forged for him a razor-sharp sword, capable of severing even the most monstrous beings. Hades bestowed upon him the helm of invisibility, allowing him to become unseen, even to the eyes of the Gorgons. With these divine gifts, Perseus ventured into Medusa's lair. He was careful not to meet her gaze, instead using Athena's shield to watch her reflection. Medusa, unaware of his approach, slithered between the petrified bodies of past warriors, her cursed gaze eternally searching for new victims. With one swift and precise motion, Perseus raised his sword and struck. The blade cut through the darkness, and with a single blow, Medusa's head fell. From her blood, two legendary beings were born: Pegasus, the winged horse, and Chrysaor, the golden warrior. Perseus returns, the price of arrogance. After rescuing Andromeda from the sea monster Cetus, Perseus made his way back to Serifos, but he did not return in celebration. He returned for justice. Inside the grand hall of the palace, Polydectes sat among his courtiers, drunk with power and arrogance, reveling in his supposed triumph over Perseus. When Perseus entered, Polydectes burst into laughter. "Oh? You're still alive? Or have you come back with some fabricated tale to deceive me?" The courtiers laughed along with their king, but Perseus remained silent. He stepped forward slowly, gripping the leather sack at his side. Polydectes laughed harder, his eyes gleaming with mockery. "What now? Do you intend to frighten me with an empty bag?" Perseus's voice was cold. "You wish to see proof? Very well. Look closely." With a swift motion, Perseus ripped open the bag, revealing the severed head of Medusa. The air crackled with dark energy. A scream of horror rang out as Polydectes and his men tried to flee, but it was too late. The cursed gaze of Medusa consumed them. In an instant, the grand hall became a lifeless garden of statues. Polydectes, frozen in his final moment, his smug smile turned into a mask of eternal folly. Perseus looked around at his work, then turned and walked away. Justice had been served. Perseus placed Medusa's head back into his leather bag and turned away from the stone-laden hall. Justice had been served, and his mission was complete. Outside, the people of Serifos stood in silence, gazing at him with a mixture of awe and admiration. No longer would they live under the tyranny of a cruel king. But Perseus did not claim the throne for himself. He turned to Dictis, the man who had once saved his mother, and placed the golden crown in his hands. Under Dictis' rule, Serifos entered a new era, one where justice and kindness reigned over cruelty and greed. The legacy of a hero Perseus' story is not just one of courage, but of wisdom and justice. He did not simply conquer monsters. He outwitted them, proving that intellect was just as powerful as strength. The downfall of Polydectes serves as a reminder of an eternal truth. Greed and arrogance will always be punished. Perseus had won, not just against Medusa, but against fate itself, and that is why his name will be remembered for all eternity. Perseus walked away, leaving behind a kingdom forever changed. His story did not end here. His legend would be told for generations to come. If you enjoyed this story and want to witness more legendary myths, don't forget to subscribe. The gods have many more stories to tell,